You know, on Saturday night I recorded a video talking about Doctor Who and the finale and Stephen Moffat's declining quality of runnership of the show and so on and so forth, and that ramble lasted about 31 minutes unedited, and at the point in which I thought, you know, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to edit this down into a, full-length video that hopefully won't be 12 minutes long, I then thought, nah, can't be bothered doing that, it's too much effort, and besides, I've done videos like that before, and they're rambly, and they say things that everyone else has said already, add nothing to anything to any argument about Doctor Who, and they're boring and rubbish, and blah-de-blah-de-blah, and so I just decided not to do it because, I have free will, and I can do what I want to, and stuff, yeah. But then it occurred to me that, well, if I'm not doing that video, then what am I going to do to fill its place? Because I need to do something, surely. So, here's this. The other day I was rummaging around in the drawer under my bed. Yes, I have a drawer under my bed, deal with it. And I was specifically looking for a notepad that I knew that I had in the drawer under this when I found something that I didn't expect to find because I thought that I'd lost it a long time ago. My screenplay for The Woman in Black. Now, for those of you who are new here and you don't yet know the backstory behind why this is important in any way, allow me to give you a quick recap. In 2008, on a school drama trip, I went to see The Woman in Black at the Fortune Theatre in London. This is my ticket stub for when I went to see it. I can now show it to you in higher definition because the last time I tried to show you this last year, it wasn't in high definition because I was still using my last shitty old camera. So, here's this, high definition, words, ooh, freaky, nice, cool, yes. So, saw the play and became slightly obsessed with it. I was really scared by it, for one thing, haunted my dreams, kept seeing The Woman in Black in my nightmares for a few days, but still, it was enough, and I did get the idea to, not the idea, just the inclination to try and write my own screenplay adaptation, because there was the novel by Susan Hill originally, then there was the play adapted by Stephen Mallatrat, and then I thought, hey, I'll give my hand at writing a screenplay adaptation, because at the time, there was no film having yet been made of it, aside from the ITV TV movie that was made in the 1980s, but regardless of that, proper film adaptation. So I tried my hand at writing it, and in every break time, lunchtime, any spare time that I could possibly get at school, I wrote The Woman in Black screenplay. I only wrote about half of it by the time that I left school and had finished my GCSE exams, but what I did write is here, about 50 pages, I can't remember, I haven't counted in a long time, I'm not going to count now because it's too much work, but these are the fruits of my labours. As you can see, I've divided it in a certain way because I have to talk about certain pages in particular. Yes, I've planned this out, this isn't off the cuff at all, although I would like the illusion for it to be so, it just is not the case and we'll just get rid of that illusion right now. It's not nice to get rid of illusions, but still. And for a time, in the throes of my adolescent arrogance, I thought that maybe one day in my future, when I was a director, I could possibly direct my script that I had made of The Woman in Black. Then Hammer Horror Films turned up, resurrected themselves, and they decided, hey, we're gonna make The Woman in Black as a film. And they got Jane Goldman to write it, and got Daniel Radcliffe to star in it as Arthur Kipps, and my plans went to shit. And I was not happy, to say the least, and that's why last year I went to see The Woman in Black at the cinema with my colleague Liz, and went to see it, and I did a video about it, and I gave this whole backstory as well then. I'll put a link in the description to that video from last year and you can watch that then. Begrudgingly, I did like the film because it was just very, very scary. As I mentioned in that video from last year, there was a point in the film in which I got so scared that in the seat I was in, I cowered backwards and my left leg went into spasm. That's how much it got to me. Regardless, I was happy that they did make the film, I just wasn't happy that I wasn't the one that got to make it. But anyway, when I found my script the other day, when I started looking through what I'd written back when I was... How old was I back then? I would have been between 15 and 16 at the time that I was writing this. And, well... let's just say that it's not exactly Joss Whedon standards. So, the first page. This is entirely stage directions. Not stage directions, but like camera directions. Literally, in the first page, I don't give any dialogue. All I do is give directions to the cut-tos, and the close-ups, and the camera, and the wardrobe department, and the cinematography, and the music, and the catering service. Then on the next page, we finally have our first line. It was 9:30 on Christmas Eve. God. Oh look, more or less than subtle exposition. Mr. Bentley, look, I've meant to ask you how you've been. The last time we spoke about personal matters was when you and I were visiting here. You visited here before, say? You were changed from your experience. You'd aged well beyond your years. You weren't talking to anyone, not even about Stella. I wonder, do you think that Stella is an important name that will become relevant later in the story? Now here's something to keep in mind. When I was writing my script, I was adapting straight from both the novel and the play. So I was flitting back between each of them, reading the dialogue and the stage directions, and then transferring it onto my script. And that becomes more and more evident as it goes on. I'm also not quite sure where the boundaries between the dialogue in the novel and the play becomes dialogue that I've added. I don't think there's much of a blurring of the boundaries, but still, we'll see. Another problem as my script goes on is my increasingly high problem of not being able to differentiate between the show not tell principle of cinema, as is evidenced by this line from also Mr. Bentley, the exposition machine that he is. He's also a sex machine, but we don't go there. But this is when he's younger, and he says, "Then my boy, go home and pack your bags and take the afternoon train from King's Cross, change at Homer B and take the branch line to Criffin Gifford. After that, it's a wait for the tide." Oh, so trains and tides. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen all them. Dialogue, dialogue, train, dialogue, dialogue, train, dialogue, dialogue, train, 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 train. Hey, I like trains. Oh, here's one. The landlord character says, "Welcome to the Gifford Arms. I'm the landlord." Well, do you think the landlord's the landlord? I think the landlord is the landlord, because I'm not quite sure that the landlord is the landlord. Here's the bit that I really cringe at. Arthur finally getting a word in edgewise with a massive chunk of voiceover that takes up pretty much all of the page. And it's him both writing a letter and talking in voiceover. And they're both not at all cinematic things to be doing. But I have an entire chunk of voiceover, most of which I think I steal directly from the novel and or play, or both. And just saying, "Dear Stella, I have arrived in this place I've been sent to so suddenly. Criffin Gifford environs live to deep strangers of its name. Any poor old woman might be looked at as a witch, such as this Drablow woman I'm visiting at a graveside. I don't know Stella. I feel like a character in a novel Victorian novel about ghouls and ghosts and fantastic things of the macabre. In reality, it's just the mood of the locals around me who search for any little bit of melodrama and mystery that can extract out their meaningless lives in this place. There is something strange about the behaviour of the people around here when the name Drablow is mentioned. People close up, change the subject, or leave the room. They say very little regarding her, but more, I think, can be derived from what is unsaid." I'm a div. I think we've heard well enough from past me and his pitiful attempts at screenwriting. Just thank God for Jane Goldman. Because, if I'd ever been allowed to make this, it would have been the worst film adaptation imaginable. Because it's not an adaptation, it's a transcription. And that's enough of that. Incidentally, along with this programme, I also have a bunch of other programmes for some stuff I've seen. This I didn't see because I was too young and I was given to this by my dad's mother whenever I went to see her one time. But I did see Blood Brothers, again on a school trip, and I also saw The View from the Bridge, again in London. It was the last play I ever saw, and it's also the last time I've ever been to London, back in 2009. And, yes. Now on to one last subject. I've just started Hit Recording again. In case you don't know, Hit Record is that website that Joseph Gordon-Levitt runs, that he created with his brother years ago. And I've been on there since January 2011, so just over 2 years now. And I've just come back onto it again after a long time of not being on there, after the last time in which I had also been not on there for a long time before I went back on there for a little bit too. I have spit and spat, it's like Tumblr. So I've just gone back onto Hit Record, and I'm getting a lot more recommendations for things that I'm doing on there than I ever have before in the entire past 2 years that I've been on there. And perhaps it's because with the things I'm doing on there now, I've learnt more stuff since the last time I was on there doing anything. And know how to remix things better, because I'm doing a lot of musical remixes and putting songs together. I put a couple of songs together the other day and that got a really good feedback from people. And that's very nice. And I'm writing lots of tiny stories and any of the weird things that come into my head at random points. A lot of them have to do with alliteration and rhyming and that kind of jazz. And I'm having a lot of fun being on there again. And also, at the same time as I'm doing this video, I'm also doing a video to do with Hit Record that I'm going to be remixing with someone else's. Well, I'm not doing the video at the exact same time as I'm doing this one, because, you know, it's not like I have a clone of me in a separate room that does videos at the same time to lighten my workload or something. That couldn't be done. Or could it?
No.
You couldn't let them entertain the notion for a few fucking moments. My God. Anyway, here's a small clip from that video that I'm doing right now, but not right now at this exact same moment in time and concurrently in paradoxes and wibbly wobbly timey-wiminess, but you know what I mean. Anyway, roll the clip. Flying ninja penguins. Yep, that makes more sense in the video itself. Maybe, perhaps, probably not at all. But we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time, and bye!